So like some of you guys know, I made a video ranking the most destructive devil fruits in One Piece that got blocked by Toei, and that's in the middle of a dispute, so I made a post asking you guys what you want me to talk about. And a lot of you guys said I should rank the missed opportunities in One Piece. It should be a top 10. I felt like that was too long, so I did a top 5 at this point and had some honorable mentions. And I'm gonna do that going forward probably every week, where I ask you guys what do you want to hear about, what do you want me to talk about, just to get some more input. Of course, these aren't guaranteed. It's more so guaranteed on Patreon, so if you want to be sure that your opinion is heard, you can join my Patreon. But today we're talking about the missed, or rather the top 5 missed opportunities in One Piece. I want to preface this by saying that I'm not trying to change the story. I'm not saying the story is bad because these are not in it. I just think the story would be a bit better if these were expounded upon, or we got some more clarification on. I know several people tried to play the role of Oda, where they feel that if Oda did this, the story would be a lot better. That comes down to enjoyment, and it's pretty subjective. Some people really love One Piece for what it is. Some people think that it could be a lot better. Some people even think One Piece should be a lot shorter, but I enjoy One Piece because of the longevity of it. That's a part of it, and it's deepened my affection for the series. So I wanted to say that because I know people are going to feel like because I'm talking about the missed opportunities, I'm saying Oda is trash. No, I'm just saying these are the things that I think could have been expounded upon that would have enhanced the story for me, but it's still fantastic. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. People are saying, well, you should have done the top 10. I'm doing 5 because I want to take my time to explain each point rather than just giving 10 and rushing through it because I don't want to extend the video too long. Again, attention spans. So that's why we're just having 5 right now. Depending on your comments, we might have a part 2, and it might be a different anime. People are asking me now to review different anime or talk about different anime to broaden my horizons, I guess. But we'll see how that goes. But again, without further ado, let's talk about or rank the top 5 missed opportunities in One Piece. But first, our honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is the supernovas. The reason why I think they are missed opportunity is due to the fact that they haven't been fleshed out even 960 chapters in. The most fleshed out we've gotten is Law. Of course, we exclude Zoro from this conversation because he's a Straw Hat, but it would have been best served if the supernova had maybe a mini arc or moments throughout the story where we see exactly the things that they've done and their accomplishments. Oda has done a good job of explaining what's going on with the supernova when he's fleshing them out within the arcs. The main example is Capone, in which he told us about Capone, his history, and the things he likes to do. At the end of arcs, Oda likes to show us what's going on around the world, to give us an update of what's transpiring. And he shows the supernovas a lot, but it's literally a page of what each of them are doing. As interesting as these characters are, I think it would have been great if we had gotten more information on these people. I think we can all agree, every time the supernovas are involved in One Piece, the story is a lot more interesting. Whether you want to admit it or not, Luffy having rivals, it enhances the story. It presents different obstacles and then also useful allies for him to get to his goal or to deter him from his goal, which leads to interesting storylines. The next honorable mention for missed opportunities is Straw Hat interactions. One of the best things about One Piece is the Straw Hats coming together and having moments together. Something that's been missing post time skip specifically, and I'm focusing more on post time skip because the Straw Hats, they've been separated a lot after the time skip. So one thing that's happened, especially after the 2-year time skip, they don't talk about what happened. They don't interact a lot and explain their experiences. First, Robin not telling Luffy that Sabo is alive. Yes, that would have taken away from the Dressrosa moment, but it's hard for me not to assume that Robin knows a lot more than we know when she was with Dragon for that long. The thing that's at the forefront of my mind mainly is Nami, Sanji, and Zoro. I know people were upset and disappointed in Sanji based on what happened in Whole Cake Island, and people were really interested to see how Zoro felt about Sanji doing what he did to Luffy, mainly because of what he said when Usopp was doing what he did, disrespecting Luffy, saying that he would leave the crew if Luffy allowed disrespect. A lot of people took Sanji kicking Luffy several times as disrespect. There are several underlying things there and you can't just take that at face value, but people wanted that to be fleshed out a bit more. Zoro and Sanji met, that's not discussed. Luffy talked about Big Mom being in Wano, that's not discussed. And I think sometimes the Straw Hats not interacting and discussing things that transpired when they weren't together, it doesn't feel realistic and it's sometimes difficult to digest. The final honorable mention is Vice Admiral Development. The Vice Admirals, they're supposed to be very important to the world government and their forces. There are several strong Vice Admirals. The strongest Vice Admiral that we know of is probably Vice Admiral Garp. If you include Momoshage and Chaton, they are canon now. They're probably right after Garp, if not on his level, because they were candidates for the Admiral position. The issue here is that we know nothing about them. As important as the Admirals are to the story of One Piece and the world government's forces, you would think they have a system in which Vice Admirals are trained and prepared just in case something happens to an Admiral so that they can slide right in. The Admirals have honestly been an embarrassment. Every time the Admirals have been sent somewhere or had a fight or an opportunity to show themselves, they've been embarrassed. Now, they've gone against somewhat strong people, but still, if these are next in line to fill the positions of Akainu, Kizaru, Aokiji, Fujitora, Green Bull, Aokiji's obviously not an admiral anymore, but I'm talking about just the level of power that these guys possess, who's next in line? From Maynard in Dressrosa, he got beat by Bartolomeo in a hallway. Bastille got played with by Sabo. Virgo, of course, he went against Law, and I think Virgo was impressive, essentially got one shot by Law. Momonga, who I think is probably one of the stronger Vice Admirals, was brought to his knees by Boa Hancock, and again, that's Boa Hancock, but still, when you think of Vice Admirals, you don't think of, oh my god, they're next in line. You think of, oh, they're just there. And even if you go to One Piece Stampede, the Vice Admirals, same thing. They show up and essentially they got one shot. In Marineford, they did have moments, right? With Onigumo, Dalmatian, people of that caliber. There's a lot to be desired when you think of these Vice Admirals. So that's about it, guys. Leave your honorable mentions below. If you've enjoyed the video so far, you can drop a like because that helps a lot. Now let's get to the top 5. And these are the 5 missed opportunities in One Piece, and I'm ranking them from 5 to 1. So here we go with number 5, Robin's growth and importance. The way Robin has been handled post Enies Lobby, I think, has been borderline an embarrassment, and that's basically due to what I think Robin can present to the story. Pre-Straw Hat, Robin somehow took down the trio by herself. Robin was running from the world government for decades. She was working with Crocodile. She had an extensive history in espionage. She has an amazing devil fruit that can be utilized in so many ways. And post-Straw Hat, she's become a background character. She provides little to no insight unless it's about the Poneglyphs or the Void Century or the history of the world. It sometimes appears like she's uninterested in what's going on around her when it involves the Straw Hats. Robin essentially has become a plot point, meaning Robin's usefulness has been tied to the Void Century and just reading the Poneglyphs, because from what we know, she's the only person in the One Piece world that can read the Poneglyphs. So she has been thrown as a reserve character to use when the Poneglyphs and that stuff is involved. That's not to say Robin hasn't had her moments, but I think her most epic moment post time skip outside of Poneglyph stuff, probably capturing Hakuba. She had to be saved by Usopp. She had a fight versus Diamante, but Kiros had to step in and help her. Robin is powerful, but it seems like she's been reserved to the damsel in distress role because she has bigger titties post time skip. Robin, for a long time, was best girl for me in One Piece, no question. But I think how she's been treated and her portrayal post time skip, Nami has eclipsed her, Violet, Hancock, and probably Koala cute ass. It's at a point where I hope Robin, especially in Wano, and we know the Void Century and the history of the world, we're gonna get deeper meaning to it in Wano. I hope this is the beginning of some greatness for Robin, especially a 1-on-1 fight. Jesus Christ. Number 4 on the missed opportunity list is Kizaru's role in the story. I know this is out of the blue because a lot of people are probably not thinking about this, but here is my thought process. In One Piece so far, the 3 admirals, Aokiji, Akainu, and Kizaru, have been hyped up as the original 3. They're the world's greatest, the Marine's greatest fighting force. They're important characters. Akainu has had major development as far as knowing his motives, knowing how he thinks, knowing how he operates. We still haven't gotten backstory, but we've gotten enough from him to somehow understand him more. He's a very prominent character. Aokiji, we've gotten a lot more from him as a Marine, as a member of the Blackbeard Pirates, quote unquote. He's been fleshed out and been more prominent in the story. Akainu and Aokiji, and of course they had their fight as well on Punk Hazard, changed the landscape, all this stuff. Lost in the midst of all this is Kizaru, who has low-key been very impressive every time he's on screen, and even when he doesn't engage in battle, has some great moments which should be highlighted. Kizaru seems like an afterthought or someone that's left over from the previous generation of admirals, and he's just there floating as now Akainu's subordinate. But I think Kizaru, who is older than Akainu and Aokiji, should have a more prominent role in understanding of who he is in the story. From his attitude to his devil fruit to his persona, he's probably the most entertaining admiral. When are we going to get some more information or a mini arc as to why he didn't care about the fleet admiral position? What are his motives? What are his goals? What's the end game for him? It seems very clear with Akainu being the fleet admiral now and Aokiji working with the Blackbeard Pirates, and we're assuming a member of of sword. They have very clear routes in the story. Kizaru has been lost and somehow been just shuffled in with Green Bull and Fujitora. And one could argue Fujitora has gotten more development and screen time and prominence in the story in the short time he's been a part of it post time skip than Kizaru has the entire time. Kizaru has some of my favorite moments in One Piece because I love when he's on screen, from Marineford to Sabaody. Even in Wano, things that he said that has added to his character. Why hasn't he been more prominent? So that's something based on the character that he is, how entertaining he is, how polarizing he is, that could have been fleshed out a bit better. Number 3, Pocky Development. This could have been one, honestly, because Pocky, I think, has been stagnant for a while, in which it's confusing. We understand what Pocky is, from Conqueror's Armament to Observation Pocky. Or do we? I'm specifically talking about Conqueror's Pocky here because Armament and Observation got fleshed out in Whole Cake Island somewhat, and Armament is being fleshed out now in Wano somewhat. Conqueror's Pocky is still floating. Pocky has been in the story for a while. We've had glimpses of things happening from Mantra and Skypiea, Sentomaru using Ryo, we can't forget Rayleigh, but it's not fully fleshed out. When we heard about Future Sight in Whole Cake Island, everyone was surprised, excited, and disappointed at the same time. The reason being is that we've seen this before. Katakuri is awesome. Luffy learned it rather quickly. Aokiji did something similar versus Whitebeard and Marineford, and we assumed that was just, one of his abilities, but now looking at it, more than likely he could use that ability. But it would be so much better if we understood how these things work, especially leading up to Marineford. And now focusing on Conqueror's Pocky, there's several moments in the story in which we assume it was a Conqueror's Pocky moment, outside of Luffy I'm talking about, because that's obvious. For instance, Zoro, cutting Monet. It's argued constantly whether that's Conqueror's Pocky or not, whether Zoro's gonna develop Conqueror's Pocky, and the purpose of Conqueror's Pocky. The most powerful we've seen so far is Shanks, of course, destroying Whitebeard's ship. But what is the true purpose of it? Outside of qualities that people have to distinguish who these people are, what is its purpose? What is the role that Conqueror's Pocky is going to play at the end of all this? Ryo is now being fleshed out. We saw Ryo again from Rayleigh. Going into post time skip, he used it against the elephant, and we saw it from Sentomaru using that against the Straw Hats. Ryo is now being fleshed out in Wano, but it seems a bit late and a bit rushed because Luffy has to get stronger really quickly, and that's something he's going to use to hurt Kaido, but we wish that he would have learned some semblance of it when he was with Rayleigh, because Rayleigh is a master of this. We assume he was taught the basics. But Pocky is something that has been discussed, theorized, and criticized due to how nuanced it is. And honestly, we're still waiting for information this late in the story. Number 2, fights in One Piece. Oh boy, I'm not a meathead till I need to be in regards to fights and stuff like that, but I can't help but feel One Piece is lacking in quality fights throughout the entire story. One thing I'm not going to do here is criticize One Piece and the fights overall by saying the fights are bad. The fights are meaningful, but that doesn't always lead to great fights. Luffy versus Arlong, Luffy versus Crocodile, Luffy versus Enel, Zoro versus Kaku, Zoro versus Mr. One, Sanji versus Jabra, Luffy versus Usopp. Emotion and meaning is very prevalent in One Piece fights. Choreography, not so much. I mean, Sanji's fights pre-time skip, excellent choreography. Him versus Mr. 2, him versus Jabra, him versus the Fishman, beautiful fights. But overall, comparing One Piece to his contemporaries, it doesn't match up at all. Another thing is that One Piece is the king of clash and dash, where we have two major characters, they clash, but we're not going to show much more than that. I understand not showing Shanks and Whitebeard fighting, but literally, it could have been more than a clash. I think the major flaw in One Piece, and people argue this a lot because they say One Piece is not about fights, it's about story, development, world building. We get all that, but having good fights in a battle shonen adds to it. Luffy versus Cracker is not a terrible fight, but it's not a great fight. It started off really well, but then it ended kind of meh. Luffy versus Katakuri could have been the best fight in One Piece, but the ending was a bit meh. Where One Piece goes the route of meaningful, and sometimes it loses the whole point of just a brawl. Outside of fights being sometimes lackluster, other times they're just skipped. Akainu versus Aokiji could have been one of the most epic fights in anime history. Skipped. Even Blackbeard and his crew versus Marco in the Payback War could have been masterful. Skipped. I was absolutely looking forward to Hawkins versus Law, an extensive fight, coming to a fitting conclusion. When that actually happened, it was skipped. We're assuming Page 1 versus Sanji was finished at that final blow, but if it wasn't, that was skipped too. Zoro and Sanji in the capital after Yasu died, and they were about to face everyone around them, the Oniwabanchu, Robin, all that stuff, skipped. As a viewer and lover of One Piece, at times it gets frustrating because it feels like it builds you up to these epic clashes and these epic meetings, and it gets skipped. The final straw in which it put it on this list for me as a missed opportunity is Oden versus Ashura Doji being skipped. Now, people are going to say, well, the anime could expound upon it. Yes, it could, but the anime is a completely different medium. The manga and the anime, they're separate things. The manga should have shown us Odin versus Ashura Doji. Even if you don't give any named attacks, Mihawk, no named attacks the entire story, so it can be done. However, it was skipped. As amazing as One Piece is, I think, again, in comparison to Bleach, Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, they just have better fights. I think Hunter x Hunter maybe because of the Meruem stuff, and this is not really shitting on One Piece and its fights because Luffy versus Usopp is amazing, Luffy versus Rob Lucci is amazing, Sanji versus Jabra, Zoro versus Mr. One. Luffy versus Doflamingo was okay. I didn't really like the ending because of the Gats thing and how that was stretched out. So overall, I think fights in general in One Piece, with all the epic characters that we have, could have been so much better. Number 1. So recap, number 5 was Robin's growth and importance. Number 4 was Kizaru's role in the story. Number 3 was Pocky Development. Number 2 was the fights shown in the story or fights overall. And number 1 is the absence of bounty hunters. The reason why this is the most egregious thing is the fact that it's a pirate story. Bounties are prevalent in One Piece, and the importance of bounties in the story is just insane. The entire theme of One Piece, justice, freedom, and power, and essentially who has the power gets to control justice, and the fact that it was touched upon and one of the most prominent characters in the story was a bounty hunter, it rubs you the wrong way. The character I'm talking about obviously is Zoro. Quick history, if you don't remember, Baroque Works, that's what they did. They were bounty hunters, and they used the bounty from pirates they captured to fund their projects. In Whiskey Peak, before Zoro fodderized a lot of these people, they asked Zoro, how do you know about us? He said, well, when I was in the same business, you guys came and recruited me. Obviously, he turned them down. So this showed that at some point they had an entire organization dedicated to bounty hunters. Now, for me, help me make this make sense. Pirates are running wild out here with high bounties, but sometimes they're not even worth their bounty. Why aren't there more people out here trying to capture these pirates? Why aren't there more prominent characters out here trying to make a living capturing these people? It's legal, it would be a big booming business, and it gives credence to more powerful characters being thwarts for Luffy and his companions in the story. Bounty hunters could have had such a prominent role that it could have affected the entire system of the warlords. Because let's say the government was tired and fed up of the warlord system. What if there was an established bounty system and they had the most powerful bounty hunters, like a 5-star bounty hunter? And then of course you had somebody that was in charge of the bounty hunters. Of course you would have to scale him to the most powerful characters in One Piece. What if they tried to replace the warlords with the bounty hunters? Yes, we're not sure what the SSG are, and I'm not criticizing that. This is just a alternate reality. If the bounty hunters were in place, that would be pretty damn cool, because the bounty hunters, they're on the side of them, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. At the end of the day, they have the same goal, which is taking down the pirates, because the Marines are gonna pay them. Again, I love One Piece, but I think those are some missed opportunities. If they were better explained or better done in the story, it would be better for me personally. So there you have it, guys. Those are my 5 missed opportunities. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Leave your missed opportunities below, or let me know if you agree with my list. I definitely do appreciate you guys' comments, so thank you so much. So like the video if you did, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not, if you enjoyed this content, and there's a lot more on this channel like it. To stay up to date with what I do, follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. You can also do this on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. Your support means a lot, and I appreciate it. If you would like to become a patron, the Patreon link is in the description box down below. Again, like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.